Yes, it was haunted. Absolutely, there are a number of spirits on it. The last showboat of its kind was purposely burned. Welcome to Mike's Morning Mug. I know I'm right now sitting in the Friday Night Ghost Fright set, which really is just my living room revamped a little bit with the decorations. But what I want to do is kind of sit down and talk a little bit about what's been going on with, well, you guys know about the Goldenrod tragedy. Maybe some of you don't. But it's a tragic loss of a fantastic piece of history. Basically, the 108-year-old Goldenrod Showboat, the biggest and most luxurious showboat that ever ran along the Mississippi, the last showboat of its kind, was purposely burned this past Saturday. Still getting choked up about it. You know, it's a wonderful piece of history. Yes, it was haunted. Absolutely, there are a number of spirits on it, which was, of course, a big draw for me on there. Of course, Shauna invited me there to begin with, so you could say that was a draw too. But you know, she invited me for the paranormal stuff, and then we got to know each other. In any case, to lose pieces of history like that is an absolute travesty. For those of you that regularly follow me, that have read my writings, that have watched scores of these videos, you know where I stand on this subject. Basically, I feel that they murdered the showboat. The showboat itself had its own persona. It had its own life. Even though it's an inanimate object, it had its own soul. And that soul was to tell the tale of that period of time along the Mississippi River when people would come. He was docked for decades in St. Louis, and people would come and they would experience the melodramas and the ragtime music and a particular lifestyle that was really unique for that area of the country. And the Goldenrod Showboat was a way for that story to be told. And now that story is gone. Sure, there's photographs left. They have some objects from the boat to be able to set up a museum, but you can no longer walk into it and feel that ambiance for yourself. You can no longer see and watch shows being put up on display on the stage. And sure, they hadn't run any for a long time there because of things that happened a good 15 years ago. But one of the plans that had been put in place was for the Goldenrod to be moved back into the St. Louis area, for the showboat to be restored, and for them to start doing the shows on there again. Our second book from Haunted Road Media was part of the proceeds of which were supposed to go help restore and preserve the Goldenrod Showboat for these very purposes. Now, part of the proceeds will still go to help the objects that are still left from there. There's some talk about a museum, what have you, but you can no longer walk into it. That piece of history has been destroyed. In my opinion, it's been murdered. I know it seems real odd, like I'm pushing that particular book, since we did just come out with the third volume, and we're going to be set up at Mineral Springs Mall, Mineral Springs Hotel, which is featured on the front, this coming weekend in Alton, Illinois. But it's really, really important to note that both these locations were in danger. The reason why we're doing Mineral Springs is because it almost met the wrecking ball last year. Another historic location about to be obliterated from the face of the earth. And I've seen this happen several times over recent years, really. The Emmett House in Waverly, Ohio, where I actually met Andrea Perrin during an event that we were doing together, and she's become a very good friend of mine. You guys probably know her from, you know, The Conjuring. But she has a fantastic set of books that tell the real story, so go get them. But that one also went up in flames under mysterious circumstances. The old Fort Chaffee Field Medical Complex in Fort Smith, Arkansas, another one up in flames. An entire huge medical complex. It was a labyrinth. You'd go down the hallways and it was like you were walking through the old game of Doom. It's really what a lot of people equated it to. Absolutely huge, very historic, and that too went up in flames. Oh, at the same time, it was receiving its place in the books as a National Historic Landmark. Well, of course, that was going to preserve its spot. And well, there were those in the area that wanted to develop it for commercial purposes. With the Goldenrod Showboat, there's not a commercial purpose, so to speak, in the mix here, but the people that own the land were looking to get the boat off there so that they could get rid of the land. You know, they're retiring, they want to get out from under all of this, and the boat was holding up their process and their progress of doing this. So, as they suggested many times, it burned. What in the world can we do to stop this from happening to these locations? When it comes down to it, it's always about the money in some form or fashion, whether it's an insurance thing or like with the Goldenrod, they just want the boat off there so they can flip the property. What in the world can we do to save these locations? Because ultimately down the road, future generations are going to hate our generation, the generation before that's still around that's letting this happen, of doing this. I mean, already today, archaeologists looking back at ancient times, they are shaking their heads like, what in the world were you people thinking? Coming in and destroying these locations and destroying these artifacts and melting down these, these bronze statues and destroying these marble sculptures. There's why? All these, ancient artifacts and locations that they could be researching and actually discovering the real truth of how things worked back then. They're grasping at straws with the little bits of information and pieces that they've had to work with. Now, we as a more educated society should know better that we can preserve these places. We have the know-how and we know how important it is to be able to do that because of looking back at the past. These things happened. Sure, some ancient times, ancient history, there were barbarian tribes that came in and blew things away. Or they talk about, we want to, wipe you from the history books, and we do things, and they would do things like that. Get that happened. We're no longer that type of society, are we? I didn't think we were. I thought we were above all of that. But no, we still have people who just don't care. And unfortunately, it is the people with the money that are doing this. Sure, there's some great philanthropists out there that do help people and do help organizations, do help some historic locations. But odds are, and where the numbers lie, generally it's the people that don't have the money, that don't have those type of resources, that want to save and help these locations. And the people with the money just don't give a shit. Like I said, it's not 100%, but generally that's the way it works. So what can we do? Left and right, we're losing locations, we're losing places. I hear from people all the time that are struggling to keep their historic locations afloat. They'll put on events, they'll hold fundraisers, they'll do anything that they can to try to get the funding to keep their location going. Otherwise, if they can't keep it up, they lose it. And then big business comes in, wipes it out, it's gone, and you got a new strip mall or something in this place. So at Haunted Road Media, we're working hard, whether it's through these videos or through these books, to try to get the word out, to let people know about these locations. It's a few dollars here and there, and it all helps. But really what we need to do is to get that word out there and push it out there and share it out there. Because, hey, my $10 over here and her $5 over there and, his $1.22 over there and that lady's $20 over there, individually, it's just a little piece. But together, we can really make something happen. And so we're going to keep supporting these historic locations that are endangered. We talk about endangered species and animals that need protection. Our historic locations need protection too. That's our history. That's who we are. That's the path that we've come from. And we talk about reliving the mistakes of our past. history repeating itself. Well, how are we supposed to learn from those mistakes if we can't look back and see the mistakes that were made? There's also to be said something for the people of the past. And that's something that actually we really do a lot with at Haunted Road Media and through Society of the Haunted, our investigative arm, is when we go to these locations, we're talking with the people. We're sitting down, we're having a conversation, and we are learning more about them and who they were and the lives that they led, and good things, bad things, both, that happened, that occurred. And so we're learning about them, and we're learning in turn about ourselves and where we come from. And that's just so very important. It gives us a window into our own humanity. So you people out there with all that cash that want to buy up these locations that have fantastic history and want to obliterate it and get rid of it and put up your whatever, it's a high-rise or a strip mall, or maybe it's a Denny's, no offense to Denny's, I just pick something out of thin air. Whatever it is, pick another spot. There's plenty of spots all over the place. And a lot of times you guys build on top of each other, so find another location. Oh, and if you have something that is historic and there's nothing new going in and it's just sitting there, don't freaking burn it. Restore it so that people can relive and experience that history in a time from our American history, even if it's a piece of world history that we can no longer experience anywhere else. This was the only place. Now it's gone. Stop with the greed. Stop with the selfishness. Stop with the hate. Do something useful. Do something honorable to be remembered for. Burning and destroying a piece of history is not it. History will remember you as a piece of shit, but you save it and preserve it. History will remember you as a hero. So be a historic hero and save these haunted, historic locations from being destroyed. That's all I have for my morning mug today. Thanks for listening to me rant a little bit. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please go ahead and do so. Hit that little bell notification button there right next to the subscribe button so that you can get notifications of all the future videos. We have a lot of things coming up, a lot more investigation videos. Of course, we have Edge of the Rabbit Hole on Tuesday nights. Friday Night Ghost Frights, of course, coming up Friday nights. And hey, if you are in the Alton area, Alton, Illinois area on October 28, 2017, please come down to the Mineral Springs Mall where we will be selling the new Encounters with the Paranormal book, Volume 3, and of course, paying homage to the Goldenrod Showboat. Till next time.